Anxiety. Just hearing the word is enough to trigger a reaction, a tightening in your chest, a quickening of your pulse, 1,000 racing thoughts that feel impossible to silence. Anxiety is a universal experience, yet it feels deeply personal. It's the shadow that looms over you, a force you can't seem to escape. But let me tell you a truth you may not have considered before. Anxiety is not here to destroy you. It's here to awaken you. It's here to challenge you, to refine you, and ultimately, to strengthen you. Society has taught us to view anxiety as a flaw, something to be eradicated. But what if anxiety is a gift? One that, when understood and mastered, can become your greatest superpower. Anxiety is not your enemy. It's a force of nature, raw and unrelenting. It demands attention, and it refuses to be ignored. The question is not whether you can rid yourself of anxiety, because you cannot. The question is, will you allow it to control you, or will you learn to control it? Let's begin by understanding anxiety for what it truly is and why it exists. We must first understand the ancient origins of anxiety. Anxiety is not some modern plague. It's an ancient survival mechanism, encoded into our DNA over thousands of years. Picture our ancestors, living in a world where danger lurked around every corner. A rustle in the bushes could mean a predator, and a wrong decision could mean death. Anxiety was the body's way of saying, "Pay attention. Your life depends on it." Fast forward to today. We no longer face the same physical threats, but our minds haven't evolved past the need for vigilance. Instead of predators, we face deadlines, social pressures, financial struggles, and existential questions. The triggers have changed, but the response remains the same. Understanding this is crucial. Anxiety isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that your mind and body are trying to protect you. The problem arises when we misinterpret or resist this natural response. Anxiety is a double-edged sword. On one side, it can cripple you, leaving you paralyzed in fear, unable to act. On the other side, it can sharpen you, pushing you to new heights of performance, creativity, and resilience. The difference lies in how you choose to wield it. Think of anxiety as a fire. Left unchecked, it can consume you, reducing everything in its path to ash. But when controlled, it becomes a source of light and warmth, a powerful tool that can propel you forward. So how do you transform anxiety from a destructive force into a constructive one? Let's break it down. Step 1. Recognizing anxiety as energy. Anxiety is not weakness, it is energy. Think about it. When you feel anxious, your heart races, your muscles tense, your mind speeds up. This is your body preparing you for action. It's a surge of adrenaline, a flood of energy meant to help you respond to a challenge. Instead of fighting this energy, embrace it. Reframe your perspective. When you feel anxiety rising, don't say, "I'm panicking." Say, "My body is preparing me for something important." This shift in mindset is subtle but powerful. It turns anxiety from an enemy into an ally. Step 2. Anxiety as a mirror. Anxiety is a mirror that reflects your deepest fears. It shows you where you feel vulnerable, where you feel unprepared, and where you need to grow. This is why anxiety often feels so personal. It's pointing directly at the areas of your life that matter most to you. But instead of running from these fears, confront them. Ask yourself, what exactly am I afraid of? Why does this fear hold so much power over me? What would happen if I faced this fear head on? When you take the time to analyze your fears, you often find that they're not as insurmountable as they seem. Anxiety thrives in the unknown, but clarity diminishes its power. Step 3. Using anxiety as a guide. Anxiety doesn't just highlight your fears, points you toward your potential. The things that make you anxious are often the things that matter most to you. They reveal your values, your desires, and your goals. For example, if you feel anxious about a big presentation, it's because you care about your performance. If you feel anxious about a relationship, it's because you value connection. Anxiety is your mind's way of saying, "This is important." Instead of avoiding these feelings, use them as a guide. Let your anxiety point you toward the areas of your life where you can grow and improve. Step 4. Action as the antidote. Anxiety becomes paralyzing only when you remain stagnant. The antidote is action. Even the smallest step forward can break the cycle of fear and inertia. When you feel anxiety rising, ask yourself, what is one thing I can do right now to move forward? If you're anxious about a task, start with the first step. If you're anxious about a conversation, rehearse what you want to say. If you're anxious about failure, remind yourself that every failure is a step toward success. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates confidence. Each step forward chips away at anxiety's hold on you. Step 5. Turning anxiety into focus. One of anxiety's hidden strengths is its ability to heighten your senses and sharpen your focus. When you're anxious, your mind becomes hyper-aware, scanning for threats and opportunities. This is not a weakness, it's a superpower. Learn to channel this heightened state into productivity. Use it to prepare more thoroughly, to anticipate challenges, to stay one step ahead. Anxiety, when harnessed, can make you more vigilant, more creative, and more effective. Step 6. Connection through vulnerability. Anxiety is a deeply human experience, one that we all share. Yet we often feel alone in our struggles, as though no one else could possibly understand. This isolation only amplifies anxiety's power. But when you share your experiences, you create connection. You remind yourself and others that anxiety is not a weakness. It's part of being human. Vulnerability builds bridges, and those bridges create strength. It is time to master the dark side of anxiety. Anxiety will always be a part of your life. It's not something you can eliminate, nor should you want to. Instead, you must learn to master it. Understand this. Anxiety is a test. It's a challenge designed to push you, to stretch you, to help you grow. When you stop seeing it as a burden and start seeing it as an opportunity, everything changes. The world is full of people who let anxiety control them, who shrink in the face of their fears. But not us. We are the ones who confront it. We are the ones who learn from it. We are the ones who grow stronger because of it. So the next time you feel anxiety's grip tightening around you, don't run. Don't hide. Stand tall. Look it in the eye and say, I see you. I understand you. And I will use you. Because anxiety is not your weakness. It is your power. It is the force that drives you forward, the fire that fuels your transformation. Embrace it, master it, and let it shape you into the unstoppable force you were always meant to be. Now, go forth and conquer, not despite your anxiety, but because of it. One of the foundational teachings of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, once said, "Some things are within our power, and some things are not." Anxiety often arises from our attempts to control the uncontrollable, the opinions of others, the outcomes of our actions, or the events of the world around us. The Stoics taught that true peace comes from recognizing and accepting this truth. Ask yourself, what am I truly in control of? The answer is simple: your thoughts, your actions, and your responses. Everything else lies beyond your power. When you feel anxiety creeping in, pause and reflect. Am I anxious about something I can control or something I cannot? If it's within your control, take action. If it's not, let it go. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This doesn't mean apathy toward the world. On the contrary, it means focusing your energy where it will have the greatest impact, on your own thoughts and behaviors. Much of our anxiety stems from a fear of the unknown, especially the ultimate unknown, death. The Stoics embrace the concept of memento mori, or remember that you must die, as a tool to confront this fear. Far from being morbid, this practice was meant to free them from the paralyzing grip of anxiety. Instead of avoiding thoughts of mortality, the Stoics encouraged contemplation of life's impermanence. By accepting the inevitability of death, they found clarity and purpose. As Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Apply this wisdom to your own life. When anxiety strikes, ask yourself, is this fear truly life-threatening, or is it my mind exaggerating the stakes? Most often, the things we fear are not as catastrophic as they seem. Recognizing this allows you to move forward with courage and focus. The Stoics believed that anxiety, much like fear, is a signal, a warning that something requires your attention. But instead of succumbing to this fear, they saw it as an opportunity to prepare and strengthen themselves. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Anxiety amplifies the potential for harm in our minds, but this amplification can be harnessed as a form of preparation. By imagining worst-case scenarios and preparing for them, the Stoics built resilience. This practice, called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, involves mentally rehearsing potential challenges or obstacles. The goal is not to dwell in negativity, but to face fears head-on and develop a strategy for overcoming them. For example, if you're anxious about a presentation, visualize the potential outcomes, including the worst-case scenario. Then, prepare thoroughly to mitigate those risks. By rehearsing and preparing, you take control of your anxiety and transform it into actionable insight. The Stoics believed that the ultimate antidote to anxiety lies in living a virtuous life. To them, virtue was the highest good, encompassing wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. When your actions align with these values, anxiety loses its grip. Ask yourself, am I living in accordance with my values? Am I acting with integrity, or am I betraying my principles? Much of our anxiety arises from internal conflict, when our actions don't align with who we aspire to be. Marcus Aurelius urged, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Living virtuously means choosing thoughts and actions that align with your highest self, regardless of external circumstances. By focusing on what truly matters, your character and your contributions, you can quiet the noise of anxiety and find peace in the knowledge that you are doing your best. Anxiety often drags us into the past or hurls us into the future. We ruminate on past mistakes or obsess over future uncertainties, losing sight of the only thing that truly exists, the present moment. The Stoics were masters of presence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." This doesn't mean ignoring the past or neglecting the future. It means focusing your energy on what you can do right now. When anxiety arises, ground yourself in the present. Breathe deeply. Observe your surroundings. Remind yourself, I cannot change the past, and the future is not yet written. All I have is this moment. This practice not only calms the mind, but also empowers you to take meaningful action. The Stoics understood that anxiety is not inherently bad. It is a teacher, a guide, and a forge for inner strength. Every moment of anxiety is an opportunity to practice resilience, to grow stronger, and to move closer to your true self. As Epictetus said, difficulties are things that show a person what they are. Anxiety reveals your fears, but it also reveals your capacity to overcome them. It pushes you to confront your limitations and expand beyond them. When anxiety feels overwhelming, remember this: it is not here to break you. It is here to test you. And every time you face it, you grow stronger. To the Stoics, the mastery of anxiety was not about suppression or avoidance. It was about transformation. Anxiety, when understood and embraced, becomes a source of power. It sharpens your focus, heightens your awareness, and drives you to act. Modern life offers countless opportunities to channel this power. Whether it's a challenge at work, a difficult conversation, or a personal goal, anxiety is your signal to prepare, to act, and to grow. The next time anxiety grips you, ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to teach me? What can I control in this situation? How can I use this energy to take action? And above all, remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Anxiety is not your master. You are its master. So when anxiety rises within you, do not run. Do not hide. Stand tall. Accept it as a challenge. Use it as a tool. Let it sharpen your mind, strengthen your spirit, and propel you forward. Anxiety is not your enemy. It is your teacher, your guide, your power. Master it, and you will master yourself. And in mastering yourself, you will master the world.